Among the plant-like protists, the most diverse phylum are the green algae, organisms found in great abundance in stagnant water. In the food chains of the natural world, green algae are very important because they are primary food producers and producers of oxygen as well. Although most green algae are single-celled organisms, they quite often live together in groups called cell colonies. In general, colonies of green algae are composed of long threads of hundreds of individual organisms. But the most amazing and beautiful colonies are those of volvox. In these colonies, individual organisms link together to form hollow balls. The members of the colony are able to communicate with one another and can beat their flagella in a highly coordinated way to move the colony in a specific direction. Volvox makes special reproductive cells from which new colonies develop.
Good day everyone, we are the first presenter that will share with you about our topic, which is the chlorophyta or the green algae. So what is chlorophyta? Chlorophyta is a taxonomic group or a phylum that is comprised of green algae that live in marine habitats. The chlorophyta are primarily freshwater. It's only about 10% of the algae are marine, whereas 90% are freshwater. Some orders are predominantly marine, such as the color palis, the daisicladalis, and the siphonocladalis, whereas others are predominantly freshwater, such as the Olotricalis and the Coleochetalis, or exclusively freshwater, such as Odogoniales and the Zygnimatales. Below are the pictures of predominantly marine water rather. Here are the types of predominantly freshwater. The Olotricalis, the Coleochetalis, and the exclusively freshwater are the Odogoniales and the Zygnimatales. The freshwater species have a cosmopolitan distribution with few species endemic in a certain area. In the marine environment, the green algae in the warmer tropical and semi-tropical waters tend to be similar everywhere in the world. Here are the following microscopic and original structures of chlorophyta. Their species include unicellular flagellates like Tetraselmis, immobile like Chlorocytes, multicellular colonies like Dictyosporium, and the simple or branch filaments like Cladophora, the Pseudoparenchymatus thalli like Codium, and Parenchymatus laminae like Ulva. Most are microscopic, but some species like Colourpa can reach over 10 meters long. So, cell walls usually have cellulose as the main structural polysaccharide, although silans or mannans often replace cellulose in the color palis. Silans means a polysaccharide that is found in plant cell walls that hydrolyzes to cellulose, while mannans, on the other hand, any of several polysaccharides that are polymers of mannose and occur especially in plant cell walls. The primitive algae in the Prasinophyceae have extracellular scales, or a wall derived from interlacing scales composed of acidic polysaccharides. Algae in the Volvocalis have walls composed of the glycoproteins. Chloroplasts are surrounded only by the double membrane chloroplast envelope with no chloroplast endoplasmic reticulum. The green algae, or the phylum Chlorophyta, has the chlorophyll in both green algae and plants and are not normally masked by other pigments. Land plants are believed to have evolved from green algae, considered by many taxonomists as belonging to kingdom Plantae. Thank you.
Hi, good morning everyone. I will talk about phototaxis and eye spots. So there are two types of phototactic movement in the Chlorophyta. So movement by flagella and movement by the secretion of mucilage. So most of flagellated cells that show phototactic movement have an eye spot. So in the Chlorophyta, the eye spot or stigma is always in chloroplast, usually in the anterior portion of flagella bases. So the eye spot are consist of one to a number of lipid droplets, usually in stroma. So the eye spot is usually colored orange from the carotenoids of lipid droplets. So contractile vacuoles are common in vegetative cells, unicellular, and colonial flagellate chlorophytes. So usually by flagellates genera, there are two contractile vacuoles at the base of flagella. When there are two contractile vacuoles, they contract alternately. So contractile vacuoles are sometimes called as pulsating vacuoles because of their alternate filling and emptying action. Phototactic response varies with a high light intensities organism with positive phototaxis at a moderate light intensities. So exhibited negative phototaxis at a very high light intensities. So at a given light intensity, temperature has an effect on a phototaxis. And Haematococcus zoospores at a given light intensity will be negatively phototactic at 4 degrees Celsius and positively at phototactic 16 to 18 degrees Celsius at a very strongly phototactic at 35 degrees Celsius. So there are two types of reproduction in Chlorophyta, the asexual reproduction and sexual reproduction. But usually it is sexual reproduction.
So there are different classes of Chlorophyta, and these are Prasinophyceae, Ovophyceae, Chlorophyceae, and Charophyceae. So let's talk about first what is Prasinophyceae. So Prasinophyceae is a primarily marine flagellates, some freshwater modern representatives of early green algae. It has a morphology of unicellular, free-living, primitive green flagellates, and it has 1 to 8 flagella of varied morphology. The flagella usually inserted in lateral or apical depression, and its habitat is marine and freshwater habitats, important part of phytoplankton. So, Prasinophyceae is a class of unicellular green algae, and when we say unicellular, it is a single-celled organism. And the Prasinophyceae is mainly include marine planktonic species as well as some freshwater representatives. The Prasinophyceae are morphologically diverse, including flagellates which 1 to 8 flagella and non-motile unicells. So flagellates, it is a cell with one or more whip-like appendages called flagella. Next is, it has special features, the organic scales on flagella and plasmalemma. So the cells of many species are covered with organic body scales, others are naked. When we say plasmalemma, it is a plasma membrane which bounds a cell, especially one immediately within the wall plant of a cell. So the cell division of Prasinophyceae is open or closed mitosis. Open mitosis where the nuclear envelope breaks down before the chromosomes separate. whereas fungi undergo a closed mitosis where chromosomes divide within an intact cell nucleus. So it has a persistent or non-persistent telophase spindle and cytokinesis by cleavage furrow of phycoplast. In cell biology, the cleavage furrow is the indentation of cell surface that begins the progression of cleavage by which animal and some algal cells undergo cytokinesis, the final splitting of the membrane in the process of cell division. And Persinovaceae has different prominent species. These are Tetraselmis, Pyramimomanus, and Ostrococcus. So the second class of Chlorophyta is the Ovophyceae. It is a marine microalgae. It is a large aquatic photosynthetic aquatic plants that can be seen without the use of microscope. Example, the seaweeds. So it has a morphology of unicellular, multicellular, non-flagellates. So it is also a single-celled organism. At the same time, a multicellular with 2 or more cells. It is a molecular features with glycolate dehydrogenase and urease. Glycolate dehydrogenase is enzyme that catalyzes the chemical reaction of glycolate plus acceptor glyosylate plus reduced acceptor. Urease, it is an enzyme that catalyzes the hydrolysis of urea forming ammonia and carbon dioxide, and it is a linear complexes of cellulose synthesis. And cellulose synthesis is the main enzyme that produces cellulose. The habitat of Ovophyceae is almost exclusively marine. The cell division is closed mitosis and it has persistent telophase spindle, cytokinesis by cleavage furrow. So it is similar with the Persinovaceae, but the difference is the Ovophyceae is only a closed mitosis, but the Persinovaceae is open or closed mitosis. The reproduction of Ovophyceae is a frontic or isomorphic diplomatic life cycle. The plant body is gametophyte or haploid, and sporophyte or diploid stage is represented only by a zygote. The gametophytic plants develop haploid gametes in the gametengium. The fusion between gametes results in the formation of zygote, the only diploid stage. And in this type, both sporophytic and gametophytic plants are morphologically similar and free-living. The gametophytic plant or haploid produces gametes, undergoes sexual reproduction, and forms zygote. The zygote germinates directly into a sporophytic diploid plant. The sporophytic plant forms haploid zoospores by meiosis. These zoospores can develop new gametophytic plants. And the other one is isogamous or anisogamous sexual reproduction, where isogamous is a type of sexual reproduction in which male and female gametes have similar morphology. They have similar shape and size, while anisogamous is a type of reproduction in which male and female gametes have different morphology. In this, the female gamete is non-motile and male gamete is motile. There are orders of Ovophyceae: the Holotrichalis, Olvalis, Cladoforalis, the Cycladalis, Colorpalis, and Siphonocladalis.